Today I'm going to discuss or ramble about the differences between the 50/50 small LEDs that are waterproof versus the 50/50 small LEDs that are not. So before I even go into the comparison, real quick, there's two main versions of LEDs, RGB LEDs that you can get. The smaller one's going to be the 3528s versus these right here are going to be the larger ones, the 50/50 small LEDs. Now when I say larger, not necessarily the strip width, but the actual size of the LEDs on the strip. So this video is specifically a comparison versus the waterproof, this guy right here, versus the non. So the reason that I'm doing this video in the first place is because if you're shopping around for the LEDs and you buy the cheapest thing possible that you find, they are in fact going to light up differently. So starting off, we'll go with the similarities. Both visually speaking, they look pretty identical. This is kind of the most common fashion that you find. You get 5 meters of it, which is 16.4 feet in the white. Yes, you can get the black ones, but usually the white are going to be the more common and the cheaper of the two. Both use the exact same controllers. They have the exact same connectors. These right now are just wired into the same controller, and they use the same type of remotes. This one is a 44 keyway, but there's like a 20-something keyway remote as well. So, I guess moving right along, no, you don't get ripped off. So these are both 5 meters. So you're not getting ripped off when you see this being a smaller roll and this being a larger. So this one is specifically larger because of the waterproof silicone casing on here. It just makes it a larger fashion. Whereas these ones without the silicone, they can compact it in a smaller roll, which, hey, if they save money shipping, more power to them. So you're not getting ripped off. These are both exactly 5 meters. Now, both you can cut every 3 LEDs, or that translates to every 2 inches. Now with the silicone, you will find some imperfections every now and then, but that's kind of the beauty of these RGB LEDs. You can cut it and work around it. So that leads us into the differences. Main point being these are waterproof, so you might be able to see the sheen from the light up top here kind of coming off the silicone casing, but that's what makes it waterproof. You have the silicone casing over it, which is super, super durable, whereas the non-waterproof ones, they do not. The LEDs are exposed, and I can actually run my finger across them. I don't know if I can really get a good sense of depth with the camera here. Maybe. But as far as visually speaking, they're very, very similar. Now the thing is, the waterproof ones are much more resilient. Whenever they coil these things up, they're not very nice to them. So whenever you uncoil them, they're kind of going all over the place. So these ones, the waterproof, seem much more resilient. You can lay them down flat. There's really no problem. Whereas the non-waterproof ones, it's kind of like you can see where they're raised up. There's kinks. It was like folded over. So that's kind of something else to consider. If you're putting in an application where you physically see them, that could be an issue because they're going to be kind of wavy. Now, that can be taken away with some really good double-sided tape, but that is definitely one thing to consider. But the main purpose of this video is not to ramble about what they look like when they're off. So let's turn off the lights. We'll fire this up, and I'll talk more about the importances of these LEDs, the differences with the lights off. So we'll fire them up, hook to the same controller, switch hands here. So right off the bat, you should be able to see the two differences. So the left one here is in fact, like I mentioned before, the non-waterproof, where the right one is the waterproof. Both, again, are the same 50/50 small LEDs. So the waterproof, because of the silicone, and it is a little bit of a different setup when you look up close on the LEDs. It's hard to see because my camera doesn't pick it up, it doesn't focus good enough. But the actual 50/50 small LEDs are in fact different. But anyways, the more important thing is, I think it's the silicone that kind of drowns the color. So it's kind of hard to explain. But basically, in person, this looks like one giant uniform lighting strip. Whereas the non-waterproof one, you can actually individually pick out the LEDs. So if you have an application where you're going to be seeing the LEDs, I would definitely suggest going with the waterproof ones, even if it doesn't have to be a waterproof application, because it just looks so much better. So we'll kind of go through the colors. Again, this is the 44 remote keyway, so there's a whole bunch of different color selections, but we'll just kind of go through here. So as you should be able to see is, even though they're the same colors, like right now we're on yellow, you can see one is more of a cooler shade where the other one is a warmer shade. And especially in the white. So it might be hard to pick up on the camera. It's going to focus here a sec, but the waterproof ones with the white, it's more of a cool white, whereas the non-waterproof in a white is more of a warm white. So depending on your application, that might be a deal breaker. So let me toss this on fade real quick so you can see the multiple different colors doing their things. But now as far as pricing goes, they're very similar in pricing. If you're buying it on, let's say, Amazon, usually just the 5-meter roll itself without a controller is around $10. Now, you can probably find better deals on Amazon, but that's pretty much what I found recently. Now, as far as eBay goes, and that's typically what I do to buy my RGB LEDs, I just buy it now, or excuse me, I don't buy it now, I just bid on it from China, and it takes, let's say, about a month to get, a month or 2 months to get, but you save so much money. So the waterproof ones, I think I spent $4.50 on this roll. The non-waterproof, I spent $4. So there's not a large price gap. And depending on your application, I would just say spend the extra money and get the waterproof. Now, if you're backlighting your TV, it's really not going to make much of a difference because these LEDs are going to be on the back side of the TV shining at the wall. So you're not going to physically see each LED individually. Whereas I'll show you in a sec here, the next clip, I put lighting on a clock of mine, so I used the waterproof strip, even though this clock's never going to see water, knock on wood, but it's something that I didn't want you to see the LEDs individually. So depending on your application, honestly, I would just spend the extra money and get the waterproof ones because you can always cut them to different lengths and get different connectors or solder them or whatever. There's like 1,000,001 uses you can use, and you can use the waterproof ones in way more applications than you would the non-waterproof ones, especially for the price. But I'm basically going to stop ranting here. I'll show you the clock and we'll end the video there. So here's that clock I was talking about being featured in another video. If you want to see that video, it talks about RGB LEDs and soldering, creating your own LED strips. Go ahead, click up in this corner. It should appear somewhere around there, but in a nutshell, here's what that clock looks like. So if I use the non-waterproof versions, you would have been able to see the LEDs because, again, you physically see the LEDs in the clock. But because I went with the waterproof ones, it looks like an old school neon, which is really, really cool. So for the price, 50 cents more, I think is a no-brainer. But because I ramble way too much, this is probably already a 10-minute video, I'm going to cut it off right here. But hopefully you can see there is, in fact, a difference, and there's many different things you can do with RGB LEDs. So if you like the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want to see things in the future, have any suggestions, please, by all means, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. But like I said, I'm going to cut this video off right here. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.